greetings. We are here to discuss the simple bingo game for our midterm project. My name is Carly Galang from 2ITB. My student number is 2101326.
Dangal greetings. My name is Myrick M. Marganyosa, and my student number is 2102051.
Dangal greetings, I am Mary Catherine Asuncion and my student number is 2101910.
Dangal greetings. I am Charisma Azores and my student number is 2101760.
Hello, greetings. I am Edward M. Barrientos and my student number is 2101588.
Tanga greetings. My name is Joanna Marie A. Batayon and my student number is 210-1486.
Dawal greetings, I'm Crystal Jean Diak and my student number is 1902648.
Dangal greetings. I am Analea Metario. My student number is 2101319.
Dangal greetings. I'm Emmanuel Absol Marin. My student ID number is 210171.
Dangal greetings. I am Eliza May Osamate and my student number is 2101523. Let's now proceed to the execution of our program. So I am Eliza May Osamate and I will be the one to discuss the execution of our program. So upon running the program, you need to press start before accessing the bingo game. So after clicking the start, you can now able to play bingo. So the number of cards here has default number of 1 since you cannot generate a card if the number of card is 0. You can use this pin box to increase the number of cards or just type it. This field does not accept any characters because the input type of it is number. Also, upon running the program, the draw ball button will be disabled. So if you generate the card with 0 number of cards, there will be alert that says the input cannot be less than or equal to 0. Same with the clear cards. If there is no cards all ball draw to clear, there will be alert that says there is no bingo cards to clear. So let's now try to generate the cards. So we will generate time cards here, and it will have different values in different cards. So as you can see here, the ball draw now became enabled. So if we click this draw ball, it will release random numbers of bingo letters, and we will just wait to have a bingo winner. So let's now click the draw ball. As you can see, it automatically marked the number in the bingo card. So if it matches draw balls, after clicking several times, there will be alert that says there is a winning card and already bingo. So the winning card will be displayed below and mark the bingo numbers to yellow color, and will also display the number of cards of the winner. So after that, the draw ball will now disabled, as well as the generate cards. Also, the number of cards will be automatically back to 1. So if you click the clear cards, there will be confirmation that says, are you sure you want to reset the game? And it will automatically clear all the fields in the game. So moreover, below of the program, you will see the how to play and about us of the program. So if you click the how to play, there will be an instruction below the program, while if you click the about us, you will see the group members of our group. So let's now proceed to the explanation of the code.
I am Carly Galang from 2ITB. My student number is 2101326. I will discuss the HTML file for a simple bingo game of our midterm project. The structure consists of head and the body. In the head, there's a title of the web page, a link to an external CSS file, a favicon, and imported Google Fonts. In the body, there is a start screen overlay with the start button to begin the game. When the button is clicked, it triggers the start game function which hides the start screen overlay and show the main game container. Inside the main game container, there's an input field to enter the number of bingo cards. Generate cards and clear cards button with respective on-click function. A container for generated bingo cards and winning bingo cards. A ball draw section with the last drawn number and the drawn numbers, and the button to draw balls with disabled attribute. The navigation section contains link to how to play and about us pages. The how to play link toggles an paragraph element for the game rules. The about us link directs to an external web page. At the end of the body, there is an JavaScript file that contains the logic for our bingo game and an internal script that handles the how to play click event to toggle the game rules. The design of our web page will be discussed by Miss Cemeterio and Miss Asuncion.
Good day, everyone. This is Anna Leometria from 2ITB, and I will be presenting the CSS on first or earlier parts of our code. We have here first on the line is the box sizing or the border box. And now moving forward to the starting container styles, we have the overlay here. You can see that the properties are set. See the center, background colors, and we have the start container itself, wherein you can see the background set into white color. And all of the text alignment is set to center, and we have from the start container you can see also the text that's stating welcome to the bingo game and the start button itself. Now we have the start button. The properties are set, color background is green and text is white. Now we have the start button hover properties. So when the user hovers the mouse pointer to the start button, the color changes, the text and the button itself, the color changes from white to black of the text start itself, and the button changes from a green to like a grayish or like a darker green color. And now we also have here the body, wherein you can see it is set into like a photo, which is the pamantasan ng kabuyaw on the background. And now we move forward to the main container styles. Now let's tap the start here, and there you go. You can see the main container. All of the properties are set, where you can see there's like a green background here, text alignment into center, and all of the buttons here and the other information of the bingo game itself. Now we have here the labels, where you can see or the user can type the numbers of how many cards they would like to play with or use upon playing the bingo game. And the cards container, so when we tap the generate cards button, The card will be generated on the first container here, and we can also set, like, for example, set generate 3 cards here, and there you go, you can see the cards are being generated here. Now moving forward to the bingo cards or the card style itself, we have here the tables. You can see the bingo tables, the bingo name from the upper part, and the numbers at the bottom of it. We have the free at the middle of the bingo card itself. And properties set, colors are like white, green, and black to match to the system color and the pamantasan ng kabuyaw main colors. Now, upon drawing the ball here, when we tap the draw ball button, it will automatically show that, for example, like this one, it draws the number, and the number is being highlighted from the bingo card itself. Now, the numbers are all in bold here, as you can see. And we have here the ball from the lower part where you can see the bingo cards. We have the ball draw here. There's like a ball or circular design where the numbers are being shown, or whatever the drawed ball, it will show the number here. Now we have the next presenter who will discuss further codes of the CSS and what's actually the function of the different other buttons of this bingo game.
This block of code defines the style for different buttons in the game. The first two selectors, generate button and clear button, defines the style for the generate and clear buttons respectively. They have the same styles including a white background, black text, and a box shadow with a slightly different font size. The draw button selector defines the style for the draw button, which has a green background, white text, and the same box shadow as the other buttons. When any of the buttons are hovered over, the background color changes to darker green and the text color changes to white except for the draw button where the text color changes to black. The disabled pseudo selector is used to change the opacity of any disabled button to 50%. Here, the how to play info element is initially hidden using display none. When the how to play element is in focus, the how to play info element is displayed using display block. Navline sets the font size and color of the navigation links. UL sets the list style to none and removes margin and padding from the unordered list. Lee sets the display to an inline block and adds padding to the list items. A sets the position to a relative, display to block, cursor to pointer, and removes text declaration. A before and A after creates pseudo elements before and after the links to create an underline effect. A hover before and A hover after change the width of the pseudo elements on the hover to animate the underline effect. .nav sets the font size, width, and spacing of the navigation text, aligns it to center, and centers the navigation bar at the bottom of the page. Winning card display H2 sets the style for the heading of the bingo card display, such as centering the text, adding a margin below the heading, and setting the font family and color. That card caption sets the style for a caption on the card, such as entering the text, setting the font family, color, and size. Winning card display table sets the styles for the table element that will display the winning bingo card, such as setting the width to 100%, the maximum width to 700 pixels, adding a margin of 10 pixels above and below the table, and displaying the element as an inline block element. Winning card display table TD sets the styles for the individual cells in the bingo card table, such as setting the border to 1 pixel solid black, the width and height of each cell to 40 pixels, centering the text within each cell, setting the font size and weight, and removing any padding on each cell. Winning card display. Table TH sets the cells for the header cells of the bingo card table, such as setting the font size and weight, centering the text, setting the font color to white, setting the background color, and adding 5 pixels of padding. Now, let's proceed to our next presenter, Giselle Dia, that will present the first line to line 57 of our JavaScript.
I'm Priscilla Gindia and I'm from 2ITB and I will be explaining the JS line of code 1 to 57. So this code defines a JavaScript class that is called the bingo card. The constructor method sets up an empty array called the matrix. As a property of the bingo card instance, the class also have a method called the generate matrix, which generates a randomized matrix of numbers and letters for the bingo card. The method first defines an array objects called columns, where each object represents a column in the matrix. Each object has a range property that defines the range of numbers that can appear in that column, and a letter property that represents the letter associated with the column. And we also have a method that loops through the columns array and generates a random number for each column. It does this by rolling a random number within the range specified by the range property of the columns object, and checking if that number has already been selected in that column. So if the number has not been selected, it is added to an array representing the column. This process is repeated until each column has exactly 5 numbers. And the last is the array columns that is added to the matrix property of the bingo card instance, resolving a matrix representing a randomized bingo card. We also have a separated code blocks. So the first block assigns the string 3 to the element in the third row and the third column of the matrix property of an object. And the second block is a method called the draw card that generates an HTML table representing a bingo card. Using the matrix property of the object, the code iterates through each element of the matrix and create a table cell for it. If the value is free, it adds a class free and it is marked to the table cell to indicate that the cell is a free space and has been marked. And lastly, the method returns a string of HTML that can be used to display the bingo card on the web page. The next presenter is Ms. Azores.
Again, sir, I am Charisma Azores, and I am assigned to explain the line of code from 58 to 107 in JavaScript on our midterm project. The ball draw class is used to generate random bingo balls and mark them on bingo cards. The constructor method initializes the ball drawns property, which is an array that will be used to keep track of the bingo balls that have been drawn so far. The ball drawns array is empty when the ball draw instance is created. The purpose of the constructor method is to create a new instance of the ball draw class and initialize its properties. In this case, the ball drawns property is set to an empty array, which means that each new instance of the ball draw class will have an empty ball drawns array. This allows us to create multiple ball draw objects with their own unique ball drawns arrays. When we create a new ball draw object, we can keep track of the bingo balls that have been drawn so far in that instance ball drawns array. The drawable method is a part of the ball draw class and is responsible for generating a random bingo ball and adding it on the ball drawn array. The method first defines an array of objects called columns, where each object represents a column in the bingo card matrix. Each object has an range property that represents the range of numbers that can be drawn in that column and the letter property that corresponds to the letters associated within the column, the bingo or bingo. Where the method then chooses a random column by generating a random integer between 0 and the length of the column's array, and using the integer as the index to select a column object from the column's array. Next, the method generates a random number within the selected column's range. It does this by subtracting the lower band of the column's range from the upper band, adding 1 to include the upper band, multiplying the results by a random number between 0 and 1, and then adding back the lower band. This ensures that the generated number is within the selected column's range. While the method then checks whether the generated number has already been drawn by checking if it is already in the ball drawns array. If the number has already been drawn, the method generates a new number until it finds one that hasn't been drawn. And then finally, the method adds the generated number to the ball drawns array and return a string representing the bingo ball, which consists of the letter associated with the selected column and the generated number. This code defines a method called markCard, which takes two parameters, a card object and a card index integer. The purpose of this code is to make a number on a bingo card that has been called out during the game. This code retrieves the last number that was drawn from the ball drawns array, which is the list of all the numbers called out during the game. The last num variable will be used to determine which cells on the bingo card should be marked. While these in the for loops are used to irritate over each column and row of the matrix respectively. Inside the loops, the code gets the ID of the cell element based on the current column and row. The ID is constructed by concatenating the card index, column index, and row index using the card index, col, and row variables respectively. This ID is then used to retrieve the actual cell element using the getElementById method. Once the cell element is obtained, it can be further checked and modified based on the logic of the markID function. In the last part of my assigned code, this code is a part of the markCard function in the bingo game implementation. This section of the code checks if a given cell on a bingo card has the last number drawn by the game. It does this by comparing the inner HTML of the cell to the last num variable, which stores that the last number drawn by the game. If the cell does not contain the free space and has the last drawn number, then it adds the mark class to the cell element. This class is used to visually indicate that the cell has been marked as a part of the pattern of the winning pattern on the bingo card. And that's all for my part. The next presenter will be Mr. Merrick Arganyosa.
Dangal greetings, my name is Myrick Marganyosa and I will be going to explain 108 to 153 line of code in JavaScript. So let's start. This is a JavaScript code that generates and displays bingo card on a web page. The first part of the code defines the necessary variables and retrieves the necessary HTML elements using their IDs. The generate card function is an event listener that executes when the generate cards button is clicked. It retrieves the value of the num cards input field and performs input validation to ensure that the input is a positive number. It then generates new bingo cards by creating a bingo card object and calling its generate matrix method and pushes the cards to the bingo cards array. The function then calls the display cards function to display the cards on the web page, creates a new ball draw object, and resets the displays for the last number and the draw numbers. Finally, it enables the drawable button and resets the value of the numcard's input field to 1 and sets the focus to the input field. The display cards function takes each card in the bingo cards array and generates HTML code to display the card on the web page. It creates a div element with the class card and a table element to hold the bingo card. It then calls the draw card method of each bingo card object to generate the HTML code for the card and adds it to the table element. Finally, it appends the HTML code for the card to bingo cards element on the web page. Overall, this code allows users to generate and display multiple bingo cards on the web page. That's all for line 108 to 153 block of code. And now we will proceed to the next presenter, which is Mr. Salmorin.
Hello, Dangal greetings. I'm Emmanuel F. Salmorin, and I will here to explain the line 154 to 210 JavaScript code. Clear button. In this function, it checks there are any bingo card generate before clearing. If there a no card, it will show a alert. Then the function it returns, otherwise confirmation message is displayed. The user confirms the function clears the following display: a last number, draw number, bingo cards, winning card display. It also reset the draw number list of the ball object, disable the draw ball button, and enable the generate card button. Draw ball button function. In this event is listener that listen to click event on draw button. This function is executed every time the button is clicked. This function checks the ball exists. It doesn't exist, it creates a using ball draw constructor. It then draws the ball from the ball draw object, updates the last number displays on UI. It adds the draw number to list of draw numbers display on the UI. The function check the generate card win for each card. It marks draw number on the card using the mark card method. Mark card method. The ball draw object and wins the card win using the win check function. If the card has win, its index is pushed to an array called winning card. Then, if there's a winning card, an alert message is displayed showing the number of winning cards found. The function then display the winning cards using a display winning card function. Disable the draw ball button. Finally, the function disable the generate card once the user click the draw ball button. Next presenter.
I'm Joanna Marie A. Batayan, and I will be discussing the next line of codes. and that is the function checkWin in JavaScript. What it does, it checks if a bingo card has a winning combination by examining rows, columns, and diagonals for marked cells. If any winning combination is found, the function returns true. And the next line will be discussed in the next presenter. Now here's how it works. The function takes two parameters, card, which represents the bingo card being checked, and card index, which represents the index of the card. The function checks for a winning combination in each row of the card by iterating through each row using a for loop. For each row, the function creates a variable named rowMarked and sets it to true. Then for each column in the row, the function selects the cell in that column and row by using its ID attribute and stores it in a variable named cell. If the cell does not have the class marked, the function sets rowMarked to false and breaks out of the inner for loop. If all cells in the row are marked, rowMarked remains true and the function remains true. If none of the rows have a winning combination, the function checks for a winning combination in each column by iterating through each column using a for loop. For each column, the function creates a variable named callMarked and sets it to true. Then for each row in the column, the function selects the cell in that column and row by using its ID attribute and stores it in a variable named cell. If the cell does not have the class marked, the function sets callMarked to false and breaks out of the linear for loop. If all cells in the column are marked, callMarked remains true and the function remains true. If none of the rows or columns have a winning combination, the function checks for a winning combination in the diagonals. The function creates two variables named diagonal1 marked and diagonal2 marked and sets them both to true. For each cell on the diagonal from the top left to the bottom right, and the function selects the cell by using its ID attribute and stores it in a variable named cell1. For each cell on the diagonal from top right to the bottom left, the function selects the cell by using its ID attribute and stores it in a variable named cell2. If any cell on the first diagonal, example the diagonal from the top left to the bottom right, is not marked, diagonal 1 marked is set to false. If any cell on the second diagonal, example the diagonal from the top right to the bottom left, is not marked, diagonal 2 marked is set to false. If either diagonal 1 marked or diagonal 2 marked is true, the function returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. That's all from me. Thank you.
I am Edward M. Barrientos. I am the presenter of this code. The HTML variable is first declared in the code. Here will be where the HTML code is put. If there is a winner, the function will show it on the user interface. If there are multiple cards, they are all displayed on the table with the name and number of each card highlighted in different colors. Starting at 0, the for loop continues until winning card's length is 1. If then assign the value to I so that we can utilize it as an index to the bingo card array, which include the potential card we could receive from 5 through 80 later in our program. The information is then saved in a variable called card index, which will be utilized later for displaying specific cell inside our table rows and columns. The winning It then utilizes this index to determine what card index corresponds to the value. The winning cards are displayed to the UI by a method in the code that accepts an array of winning cards. The first line establishes the HTML variable, which will house the HTML string to be shown on the user interface. If there is just one winning card, the second line determines whether to display an H2 tag with a praise winning card. Make a table with a winning cell highlighted for each of the winning cards. Each row of the card matrix is iterated through in the beginning of the code. After that, it iterates across each column, retrieving the original cell element from the document object for each cell it encounters. The code determines whether the cell has been marked with a class mark. If so, a winning card plus call plus row TD tag is added to emphasize that cell and show its value. The code repeatedly cycles through each card matrix cell, highlighting and displaying the value of any marked cell.
So I will be the one to explain the line 297 to 381 of the JavaScript of our program. So here we use for loop to display the winning combination for each winning card. So for let card ID X is equals to 0, card ID X is less than winning cards or less than the length of the winning cards, it will increment the card IDX. So once this loop was satisfied, it will let the card index to be the winning cards. So it will repeat the process until it did not satisfy the condition. So next is the checking the winning combination. So we declare the diagonal bingo and diagonal bingo reverse to true as a default, and make the horizontal and vertical bingo as an array. So we use again the for loop to check the diagonal and the horizontal bingo. So this code snippet appears to be part of a loop that is iterating over the elements of a diagonal line in winning bingo card. So the for loop starts at I is equals to 0 and runs until I is less than 5. Within each iteration, the code is using the current value of I to access two cells on the diagonal of the bingo card. So the first cell is accessed using the ID winning card plus card index plus I. This ID is likely constructed in such a way that it uniquely identifies a cell on a diagonal. The code then checks if the cell has class marked by calling the contains method on the class list property of the cell. So if the cell does not have the mark class, the variable diagonal bingo is set to false. The second cell is accessed using the winning card plus card index plus 4 minus I. So this ID is constructed in such a way that it identifies the corresponding cell on the reverse diagonal of the bingo. So the code then check if the cells has the class marked by calling the contains method on the class list property of the cell. So if the cell does not have mark class, the variable diagonal bingo reverse is set to false. So next is checking the horizontal bingo. So here the current horizontal bingo and the current vertical bingo is set to true, and the process of checking the vertical bingo is same here in the horizontal bingo. So if the current horizontal bingo is satisfied, so horizontal bingo will be pushed or will be added, and if the current vertical bingo is satisfied, the vertical bingo will be pushed. So next is the highlight winning combinations. So here we also used the for loop to get the highlights winning combination. So if diagonal bingo, so for let I is equals to 0, I is less than 5, and I plus plus. So the cell, the document get element by ID will be equal to cell, and the winning cards plus card index plus I plus I. And it will change the style background to yellow. So if the diagonal bingo reversed, same here, it will also change the style background to color to yellow, and horizontal bingo for each row. So we use the arrow function here. It will also change the horizontal bingo style to yellow, and lastly is the vertical bingo. We also use the arrow function here. It will also change the style background color of the vertical bingo to yellow. Thank you for listening.